They never hated you. They hated the mirror you held up, showing them who they weren't. Let that sink in. They flinch at your glow because it exposes their shadows. You walk in truth, they crawl in envy. The moment you stepped into your power, their comfort died. And now, they're triggered, not because you're loud, but because you're seen. You're no longer playing small, and that shakes them. Let's be clear, they never stood a chance. This was never just a battle with you. This was a war they picked with the universe itself. And trust me, the universe doesn't lose. If you're feeling this message already, go ahead, like and subscribe. It's not just a button. It tells YouTube this message is real, that more chosen ones need to wake up. It spreads the signal. You're not just supporting me, you're helping the truth find its people. And the more of us that remember who we are, the louder the silence gets on their side. Now let's talk about that power you carry, the one that's been haunting them. The reason they watch in silence, seethe in groups, and still can't stop checking for updates on your life. The room used to belong to them. You were the outsider, quiet, observing, always underestimated. But something shifted, and when it did, the air changed. Suddenly, the walls started listening to you. The center of gravity pulled toward your presence. You didn't steal power, you became it. They don't fear what you do, they fear what you mean. You are proof that the system can break, that someone who was once overlooked can now dominate without asking for permission. You were chosen, not by blood, not by name, but by alignment. When the universe picked you, it did so knowing you'd handle the fire. And now that you've survived it, you carry a glow they can't dim, no matter how loud they scream. You see, being chosen isn't about flashing lights or praise. It's about being hated for no reason and still standing. It's about walking into rooms where energy shifts like tides, where fake smiles crack and whispers follow your footsteps. You've felt it, that invisible pressure, that unspoken tension. That's dominance, that's presence. Your enemies thought you were alone, that if they ignored you long enough, the universe would forget. What a joke, they never understood. You are the signal, the call, the vibration that wakes up the other chosen ones. So yes, they're triggered. They see your glow and mistake it for arrogance. But it's not pride, it's arrival. You're not rising, you've risen, and now they have to live with that. Remember this, when they come for you again, it's not personal. They're swinging at stars, hoping to break the sky. But you are the sky now, and no matter how much they reach, they'll never hold what was never meant for them. Welcome to the throne. You don't need to earn it. You were made for it. So if you're still here, good. That means the real ones are listening. Drop the number 77 in the comments if you feel that shift. If you know deep down that they're mad because your power finally showed up. This isn't for the weak-hearted. This is for the boss energy the world tried to silence. Stay with me, because we're about to break this down piece by piece. And if you're truly chosen, you won't be able to look away. Let's get into it. Number 1. They thought they had you. Now you're unstoppable. When the universe aligns to lift you, nothing can stand in your way. Not their doubts, not their manipulation, not their hatred. Look at them. Look at their faces, the realization dawning that they have no power over you anymore. They can feel it, can't they? The air has shifted. The game has changed. What once belonged to them, what they thought they controlled, is slipping through their fingers, and they can't stop it. You've outgrown their reach. The world they tried to keep you in has crumbled, and now you are soaring in a space they could never touch. You've transcended them, and it burns them to their core. They thought you would stay small. They thought they could keep you boxed in with their whispers, their doubts, their limitations. But the universe didn't just choose you, it's backing you. When the universe aligns, nothing, not even the loudest enemy, can silence your rise. Their eyes dart around, seeking control. The truth is, they've never had it. They were always playing in a system they didn't understand. And you were born for this moment. You see, being chosen isn't some flattering title. It's a raw force. A power that burns through all obstacles, a light that breaks through their darkness. They thought they could play with the system, bending it to their will, but they underestimated the very force that chose you. And now you're beyond their reach. They can try to pull you back, but they'll only exhaust themselves in the process. Their hands are too small for the throne you now sit on. They thought you would break. They thought their lies, their manipulations, their attempts to block you would be enough to keep you in the shadows. But you've broken the chains that once held you. And now you stand tall in the open, untouched by their spite. Their efforts to drag you down only reveal one thing. They are nothing more than dust in your path. Think back to when you doubted yourself, when the voices in your head made you question your worth, your strength, when the enemy's words made you feel small, like you didn't deserve what the universe was offering you. You remember that? You didn't feel untouchable then, did you? But now, look at you. What did the enemy think they could do? What did they think they could say to keep you small? You were never meant to shrink. You were meant to rise and dominate, just like you're doing now. Don't let that doubt creep back in. Don't let their whispers make you question the power the universe bestowed upon you. The universe doesn't align with just anyone. It chose you. And that power, it's infinite, it's eternal. You've only begun to tap into it. Let them keep talking, let them keep plotting, but understand this: they will never, ever be able to touch you again. When the universe has aligned itself to elevate you, no amount of noise, no amount of distractions will be enough to knock you off your course. They will try. They will throw everything they have at you, but it won't matter. You are now beyond their reach. You are untouchable. The walls they built around you, the chains they tried to place on your spirit, they're all shattered, crumbling beneath you as you ascend higher. They believed they had you in check. They thought they could control you with their manipulation, their lies, their attempts to drag you down. But the truth is, they were playing with a system they never understood. You were always meant for more. And now they're facing the truth they tried to bury. They never had control. The universe was always in your corner. It was always guiding you to this moment, this point of no return, where you realize you're beyond their reach, beyond their power, and you always were. You were born to break free from their chains. They underestimated your resilience. They thought you'd fade away, but now they see it. They can see your power, your brilliance, and they can't stop it. And you're just getting started. Your enemies have spent their time trying to break you down, trying to make you question your strength. But look at you now. Look at where you are. You've evolved beyond their petty games. Their power over you was never real, and the universe made sure you saw that. Now you stand taller than they ever will, and they know it. They know your dominance is undeniable, and no matter how hard they try to bring you down, they can't. They'll never be able to catch up. Don't you dare forget that you are not alone in this. The universe is your ally. It's watching, guiding, protecting. Every step you take now, every move you make is part of a grand design that they can't even begin to comprehend. They thought they could stop you, but the universe doesn't bend to their will. It bends to yours. When they look at you, they see something they can never have. They see a person who was chosen for greatness, and it kills them, it haunts them. You are their biggest fear because you've transcended what they thought possible. And the best part, they will never, ever catch up. You've already left them behind. So let them keep talking. Let them keep trying to pull you down. But understand this, their time is over. You are the one they'll watch from afar, as they realize that they were never in control. They were never your equal. And now, you're beyond their reach. And there's no coming back. This is your time. You've been chosen, and nothing, not a single thing, can take that away from you. You've ascended. You are untouchable. Number 2, freedom hits different when you burn the cage behind you. They tried to dim your light, but all they did was teach you how to burn brighter without apology. There's a kind of freedom that only the battle-scarred understand, the kind you don't ask for, the kind you earn. You didn't just wake up one day and feel light. You were dragged, clawed, broken, doubted, isolated, and you still rose. And now? You are no longer held down. You've been lifted, but not gently. No, forged, carried by something real, something bigger than you, beyond their reach, something they can't see, can't touch, can't manipulate. Alignment. They tried to clip your wings with silence and side eyes. They tried to sever your truth with fake love and hidden envy. But what they didn't understand is that truth is not something you hand over. Truth lives in your bones. And now that you've remembered who you are, there is no going back. They've lost the keys. You've melted the locks. You are no longer trying to fit into a world that was never built for someone like you. And that's exactly why they're spiraling. This freedom, it terrifies them. Because real freedom isn't quiet. It's not about floating away and being at peace. Real freedom disrupts. It shifts rooms. It makes people uncomfortable. Your energy no longer blends in. It commands. That's why they act different now. Why their smiles don't reach their eyes. Why they stay silent in your presence, like they're waiting for the storm to pass. But you are the storm now. You're not just walking away, you're walking through. And with every step, the distance between you and their toxic grip grows larger. They feel it. Oh, they feel it. The cold wind of irrelevance hitting them as you take back your power. You were the warmth, the light, the constant. And now you've gone quiet, not out of weakness, but because silence is louder when it comes from the one they fed on. Let's be real, they were never prepared to lose you. They always thought you'd come back, that you'd crack, that you'd need them. But what they never saw coming was this version of you, the one who doesn't need validation, the one who finally knows, the one who isn't afraid to stand alone, because alone no longer means lonely. It means elevated. It means sacred. They can't touch you now. You've moved past their games, their tools of manipulation. Useless. They can't use guilt on someone who's done with shame. They can't use silence on someone who found peace. They can't use chaos on someone who thrives in stillness. You are untouchable, and they are undone. Understand this. You were never just a person to them. You were a source. You gave them access to light they couldn't create on their own. You poured into their darkness while they offered you nothing but shadows in return. You gave them presence, energy, attention, love, and they mistook it for supply. But now the fire has pulled back, and all they have left is cold. And don't you dare feel guilty for that. Because here's the truth they'll never say out loud. They miss the version of you they got to drain. Not the strong one, not the whole one, the wounded one, the one who kept explaining your worth, the one who kept giving chances. But now that version is dead. What's standing in front of them is reborn, refined, free. They no longer belong in your world, and deep down, they know it. That's why they linger in your shadow. That's why they watch from afar, hoping for a crack, a slip, a moment of weakness. But all they'll ever see is your back as you walk further into purpose, into peace, into power. So if you're feeling that ache to go back, to explain, to soften the blow, don't. That chapter is closed. You are free now, truly. Not just physically, but spiritually. And that kind of freedom, that's sacred. It's earned through pain, through loss, through silence, through the fire. And now that you have it, guard it like your life depends on it, because it does. You've become the thing they tried to destroy, and that's why they're haunted. Your freedom is their punishment. Your glow is their reminder. Your rise is their reckoning. And this is just the beginning. Number 3. They fed until you were hollow. Now they starve without you. They weren't hungry for healing. They were hungry for your light. And the moment you ran dry, they called you broken. Let's talk about the weight. The kind of weight that doesn't sit on your shoulders. It sits on your soul. The kind that doesn't just exhaust you, it erases you. You remember it, don't you? The endless giving, the pouring, the sacrificing, all in the name of helping people who looked at your light and didn't see value. They saw supply. They didn't want you whole. They wanted you cracked, leaking, vulnerable. Because your vulnerability was fuel for their survival. You kept handing out pieces of yourself like you were infinite, like it was your job to fix what they broke in themselves. And what did they give you in return? Silence, guilt, disrespect dressed as entitlement. You weren't loved, you were used. Chosen ones, they never wanted your healing. They just wanted your power without the process. They saw the flame in you and thought, let me warm my hands. But never once did they think, let me protect this fire. They fed off you, not because they didn't understand what you were, but because they did. They knew. And that's why they drained you without hesitation. You gave without asking. You stayed longer than you should have. You showed up when no one else would, and slowly you started to disappear. You gave until your smile was fake, until your energy was threadbare, until the mirror showed someone you didn't recognize. And the worst part, when there was nothing left in you to give, they left like you never mattered. That silence you sat in after they were done, that wasn't just loneliness. That was betrayal echoing in your chest. That was the weight of being everything for everyone and having no one when you needed something. You weren't asking for the world, just decency, just reciprocity, just someone who gave a damn enough to pour back into you. But all they knew was how to take. You became a well they refused to protect, until it ran dry, and when the water stopped flowing, they acted like it was your fault, like you owed them more. That's what hurts the most, isn't it? Not just the taking, but the blaming. But here's where everything flips, because now you've stopped giving, you've stopped explaining, you've stopped bleeding yourself out for people who wouldn't offer you a bandage. And guess what? They're starving. They're circling again, watching from the shadows, talking about how you've changed. No, you didn't change. You healed, and your healing doesn't include their access anymore. You've learned that your energy is currency, that your time is sacred, that your presence is powerful. And now that you've stopped feeding parasites, your light is finally burning for you. That glow they're still obsessed with, it's not available anymore. The source closed, the access revoked. They thought you were weak because you gave so much, but the truth is, you were strong enough to love them through their chaos, their projection, their mess. You were powerful enough to stand in the storm and still be the light. But now, you've pulled it all back, and they don't know what to do without you. Good. Let them feel the absence. Let them sit in the silence they once ignored. Let them realize that the one they drained was the one they needed most. You were never just a giver. You were the gift, and they threw it away. No more apologizing for being exhausted. No more letting people guilt you into overextending. No more shrinking just to make room for those who can't stand your shine. Now, your energy moves differently. It has requirements, boundaries, a locked gate, and only those who pour back get to come close. This is your time, your era of sacred selfishness, your reclamation. Let them talk. Let them spin whatever story they need to protect their ego. You know the truth, and the truth is, they drained you because they feared what you'd be if you ever turned that power inward. Well, guess what? You did. And now they'll never touch it again. Number 4. When the fog clears, so do the faces. It wasn't confusion, it was darkness. And once the light returned, you saw them exactly for what they were. You thought the silence was punishment. You thought the stillness meant something was wrong. But that was never the case. That stillness, that silence, that was the moment everything changed. That was when the noise faded, the distractions died, and your soul finally had space to speak up. And what it said was everything. In the quiet, when the world had turned its back, when the fake ones disappeared, when even your own mind turned against you, that's when the universe leaned in. No flashing signs, no dramatic voice in the sky, just a sharp knowing, a strike of truth, a clarity so powerful it cracked open the illusions you were surviving under. It wasn't them. It was never them. It was you. You were the one carrying the light. You were the one keeping the fire alive. You were the one that made the space feel full, the room feel bright, the energy feel alive. And the second you pulled back, everything felt empty. That wasn't coincidence. That was confirmation. The universe didn't speak to you in words. It burned a message into your bones. Not everyone is worthy of your light. And that truth, it hit harder than anything they ever said to you, because it forced you to see all of it for what it really was. The leeching, the pretending, the fake loyalty. You saw the masks, the takers, the cowards in disguise. And for the first time, you didn't flinch. You didn't make excuses. You didn't try to fix it. You saw. That moment of clarity was your rebirth. It was the shift where guilt turned into boundaries, where helping turned into healing yourself, where they need me transformed into I need me more. It was never about abandoning others. It was about returning to yourself, choosing yourself, protecting your energy like it's sacred, because it is. See, the real ones will never drain you. The real ones won't need to beg, manipulate, or guilt you into staying. But the fake ones, the ones who depended on your blindness, they only survive when you don't know who you are. That's why your clarity shattered them. That's why your awakening triggered them. They lost their hold on you the second you realized your worth. And now they know you're not coming back. Not to the confusion, not to the manipulation, not to the guilt-driven performance of being enough. You're done explaining your light to people who live in the dark by choice. You're done handing out pieces of yourself just to prove your loyalty. You're done offering gold to people who only ever knew how to melt it down into chains. That clarity, that wasn't a soft message. That was a cut, a line drawn in spirit, a clean break from the weight of being misunderstood, used, taken for granted. You now understand. Your presence is a privilege, not a default. Your attention is sacred. And your light? It isn't free anymore. Let them call it ego. Let them say you changed. Let them label your clarity as arrogance. That's what people do when their control slips. That's what happens when someone who used to give without limits finally wakes up. But you're not bitter. You're just clear. And clarity comes with cost. You lose access to the noise. You lose tolerance for the chaos. You lose the need to explain your shine to people who hate the sun. So now, when the silence comes, you don't fear it. You embrace it. Because you know that's when the universe speaks. That's when alignment happens. That's when elevation begins. And the next time they try to find you in the same place they left you, all they'll meet is the echo of their own absence. Because you're not hiding, you're rising, and you're doing it without apology, without permission, and without them. Number 5, the day you chose yourself, everything that was feeding on you starved. Self-love isn't soft. It's savage when you've spent a lifetime bleeding for people who never once brought a bandage. This was the day the mirror shattered, the moment your eyes adjusted to a truth they'd always tried to keep hidden, the moment your heart stopped pleading and your spirit started roaring. This was no gentle awakening. This was a break, a violent shift, where the old you collapsed under the weight of clarity, and the real you walked out of the wreckage untouched. You finally saw it, the patterns, the setups, the silent agreements where you gave and gave and gave, hoping someone would finally return the favor. But nobody came, nobody poured back in. They just took, smiled while they drained you, praised your strength as they quietly robbed you of your energy. And you kept calling it love, loyalty, responsibility. But the truth was this: you weren't loving them. You were sacrificing yourself. And that's not noble. That's not spiritual. That's self-destruction dressed up as service. You were never here to be a martyr. That lie ends today. You weren't born to bleed out for people who only open their mouths to feed and never speak life back into you. You weren't chosen to burn out trying to light up people who refuse to carry a flame of their own. You were sent here to glow, to disrupt, to rise, not to be broken and picked apart like some infinite emotional buffet. They taught you that choosing yourself was selfish, that boundaries made you cold, that detaching meant you didn't care. But that's because they needed you to believe that. Because once you choose yourself, they lose access. And that's what they feared most. When the scales fell from your eyes, when the fog cleared and the mask cracked, it hit you. You are not their savior. You are your sanctuary. And no one, not a soul, has the right to demand access to you at the cost of your peace, your power, or your purpose. That realization hit like thunder across your timeline. It wasn't just a mental note, it was a full-blown cosmic redirection, a severing of the contract you never signed, the one that told you to stay silent, to play small, to drain yourself for people who wouldn't even catch you if you collapsed. Not anymore. This is the era of choosing yourself, not in moments, not as an afterthought. Not only when you're at your breaking point, but as a permanent setting, as your first instinct, as your default. Your energy is no longer public property. Your peace is no longer up for negotiation. And your light? It will never again be handed to the ungrateful. You choosing yourself was not an act of rebellion, it was an act of remembrance, of reclaiming what was always yours, of stepping into your real identity, not someone desperate to be seen, but someone who finally sees themselves, fully, clearly, without distortion. And guess what? The moment you did that, everything changed. They felt it. Oh, they felt it. That silent earthquake the day you decided your peace mattered more than their comfort. The day you didn't respond, didn't explain, didn't flinch. The day you went ghost on everything that used to drain you, and came back as a version they'll never be allowed to meet. You chose yourself, and in that one decision, you reclaimed everything. Your time, your worth, your name. You stopped auditioning for rooms you were born to own. You stopped asking for love that needed convincing. You stopped bleeding for people who wouldn't even clap if you healed. This is your power, and now that you've embraced it, there's no turning back. Let the old roles die. Let the fake bonds collapse. Let the whispers come. They'll talk either way. But now, they're talking about someone they can't touch, someone who's moved past their reach, someone who knows the truth. Choosing yourself isn't betrayal, it's survival, it's evolution, it's domination. And now that you've made that choice, they're not just uncomfortable, they're terrified. Number 6. They can't cross what you no longer build bridges to. You don't need to raise your voice when your silence already draws a line they'll never cross again. Let's get one thing clear. You didn't become strong by accident. This strength, this fire, this clarity. It came with a cost. Pain was the currency. Betrayal was the teacher. Loneliness was the classroom. And now you move with a level of self-awareness that makes people uncomfortable, especially the ones who once feasted on your lack of boundaries. They never thought you'd wake up. They thought you'd keep letting them in, answering their chaos, picking up where they left destruction. They thought your kindness was endless, that you'd keep pouring from a cup they never filled. But those days are over, dead, buried. And the version of you that allowed it? Gone. Now you walk with discernment. That's a different kind of power. That's not just knowing who you are, that's knowing who they are. And that's where the fear creeps in, because you're not confused anymore. You see them. You read the energy before the words. You sense the pull before the lie. And you shut the door before the damage can even start. That's what boundaries are for someone like you. Not walls of bitterness, not acts of spite, but shields forged in truth. Every time you said yes when you wanted to say no. Every time you kept quiet when something screamed inside you to speak. Every time you allowed disrespect just to avoid the argument. Those were the fires that forged your boundaries. You didn't wake up wise. You bled for that wisdom. And now, you're not playing the same game. You're not even on the same field. They want access to the old you, but that version doesn't live here anymore. Now, there's a gate, a lock, a standard, and if they don't match your energy, they don't get past the threshold. Let them call it ego. Let them call it harsh. Let them say, you've changed. They're right. You have. You evolved. And evolution always offends those who stayed behind. The world will still try to pull at you. Old cycles will knock, wearing new faces. But the difference now? You won't open the door. You recognize what peace costs, and you refuse to pay it again just to make someone else comfortable. You know what happens when you let the wrong people get close. Your light dims, your focus fractures, your soul shrinks. Not anymore. You've become a fortress, not in isolation, but in intention. You don't just protect your energy, you honor it. Because you finally understand the truth that most never learn. Your energy is sacred. Your presence is privilege. Your time is treasure. You're not available for everything anymore, and you don't owe anyone an explanation. That's what terrifies them most. Your refusal to be drained, manipulated, or guilt-tripped back into the old cycles. You used to carry the weight of everyone's expectations, but now you've put it down. And in doing so, you rose. You shine brighter not because you've escaped the shadows, but because you've stopped letting them sit beside you. You're not afraid to say no, to leave unread, to walk away, to not look back. That's real strength, not loud, not messy, but sharp, precise and silent where it used to scream. They tried to make you feel guilty for putting yourself first. But all they really mourn is the loss of control. That's what your boundaries stripped from them. The power to manipulate, the ability to drain, the comfort of your unconditional access. But that's over now. You don't just walk in light, you protect it. And the shadows, they no longer have a seat at your table. So let them knock. Let them wonder. Let them gossip about the new you. Because the old you gave them everything. The new you gives them nothing. Number 7. They throw dirt when they can't touch gold. Your name lives in rooms you've never stepped into, not because you failed, but because you escaped. The real war never starts outside. It starts the moment you leave, the moment you cut the cord, the moment you stop explaining yourself and walk away with your soul intact. That's when the masks fall off. That's when the whispers start. That's when you see who was feeding off you and who was praying for your fall the entire time. They move in silence, but they do it loud. It's the bitter irony of energy vampires. Once they can't drain you, they try to destroy you. Not with weapons, with words, with rumors, with carefully crafted narratives designed to flip the script and paint you as the villain. And the most painful part, some will believe them, because the truth is never as entertaining as the lie. But let's be clear, they aren't angry because you hurt them. They're angry because you healed, because you stopped bleeding for them, because the light they once soaked in like parasites is now off limits. You went cold, and they can't survive the winter they once brought into your life. How dare you walk away? How dare you choose peace over their chaos? How dare you stop being their emotional crutch? You were supposed to be the one who never left, who kept giving, who tolerated, who forgave even when your soul was splintering, but not anymore. You've tasted the silence that comes with distance, the calm that wraps around you when you no longer have to manage their moods or tiptoe through their insecurities. And now, you would never trade that peace for their presence again. Not for a single second. And they know it. That's why they're angry. That's why they whisper. That's why they lie. They're not trying to get you back. They're trying to get back at you. There's a difference. And if you don't know it yet, believe me, you will. The smear campaign isn't accidental. It's a performance for everyone who once saw you shine. They want to dim you in the eyes of others because they couldn't dim you in the dark. But here's where the shift happens. You feel the betrayal. You see the snakes slither, but you don't engage. That's what drives them mad the most. That you know they're talking and you still choose silence. Not because you're weak, but because you're winning. And winners don't explain. You don't have time to argue with ghosts. You don't owe closure to chaos. You don't throw hands with shadows. You've outgrown the need to defend yourself in places that only ever drained you. And that strength, that detachment, that rattles them harder than any confrontation ever could. They'll keep talking. Let them. They need the illusion, the story where they were the victim, the tale where you were the problem. But you've moved beyond the need to be understood by people committed to misunderstanding you. Let them call you heartless. Let them say you've changed. Let them twist it. Because deep down, they know exactly what happened. You woke up, you healed, you walked away, and worst of all, you didn't come back. That's what they can't stand. Your solitude is sacred now, chosen, protected. It's not isolation, it's insulation. The universe doesn't let everyone near gold, especially not those who once tried to bury it. So yes, you feel the betrayal, you hear the lies, but you keep walking. Because your path isn't about revenge, it's about release. And nothing is more powerful than the person who doesn't react, but simply removes themselves from the reach of destruction. Let them talk. You're too busy building an empire out of everything they tried to break. Number 8. You didn't choose the fire. You were sent to control it. They didn't just underestimate you, they underestimated your mission. And now they're face to face with a force they can't stop. Let's make one thing clear. This battle wasn't only about them. It never was. The loudest war was always happening inside you, and it's the kind no one sees. The kind you fight in the silence after the doors are closed and the phone stops ringing. You've felt it. The split between who you were and who you're becoming. The push and pull, the compassion that wants to reach back, and the voice inside that says, don't. That whisper is not weakness. It's your directive. The call from something greater. The confirmation that this time, you're not just walking away from pain. You're walking toward purpose. But let's be real, it's brutal. Because you've always been the one who gave, who forgave, who poured out more than you had, just so others could feel whole. You wore your heart outside your chest, hoping maybe, just maybe, they'd finally treat it like it mattered. They didn't. And now that you've stepped back, they're not crying for you. They're crying for what they lost access to. Your energy, your effort, your presence, your protection. You were their shield, and now that it's gone, they're exposed to the consequences they used to throw at you. So they lie, they twist it, they try to reverse the narrative, make you the villain in a story they wrote with their own betrayal. They say you abandoned them, that you turned cold, that you changed. And you know what? They're right. You did change, because you had to. That kindness they used to manipulate, that's not gone. It's just no longer up for exploitation. That heart they used to take for granted, it's still beating, but now it has walls, locks, and requirements. And yes, that hurts you too, because you're not heartless. You never were. But now you know, your soul's not a playground. You are not here to carry people who refuse to walk. You were never sent to save everyone, only to become everything you were meant to be. That's the mandate. That's the cosmic order. This isn't some motivational phase. This is the assignment that's been written into your spirit from the beginning. The universe chose you to break cycles, not become a victim of them. That kind of calling doesn't come without cost. You're not just protecting your peace, you're obeying a higher code. One that says your energy must be preserved. One that knows the danger of giving endlessly without return. One that understands. A chosen one without boundaries is a target, not a warrior. They want you to doubt, to fold, to soften. They want you to hear their cries and forget the chaos they caused. But you remember, and more importantly, you learned. So now, every time their voice echoes in your head, trying to guilt you back into the past, remember this. You didn't walk away to hurt them. You walked away to finally listen to yourself. And the universe, it clapped in silence, because you finally got it. That war inside you, the one between your heart and your healing, it's over. And the part of you that wins isn't the one that pleases others. It's the one that protects the mission. You don't need to convince them of your truth. That's no longer your job. The people who get it will feel it. And the ones who don't, they were never meant to walk with you anyway. This path is narrow. It's quiet. It's not for crowds. It's for callings. And not everyone deserves front row access to your transformation. So yes, it hurts. The loss, the misunderstanding, the smear campaigns. But deeper than all that pain is something unshakable, something holy, something loud even in its silence. You were chosen. And with that truth, you are done apologizing. Number 9. The ones you don't respond to hear you the loudest. Silence isn't weakness, it's strategy. And for the chosen ones, it's the loudest roar they'll ever make. This isn't just struggle, it's war. Not on the outside, not with fists or noise. This war is energetic, spiritual, deep. A quiet battlefield where your light collides with every shadow that still dares to come for you. And the deeper you go, the more you feel it. The pull, the weight of the past. The voices of your old self whispering, it's easier to just go back. The people you outgrew dressing up guilt and calling it love. The invitations wrapped in fake peace, pulling you toward the same cycles you fought like hell to escape. But you know better now. You've seen too much. You've risen too far. And no matter how familiar it feels, familiar is not freedom. So you go quiet. Not because you have nothing to say, but because your presence speaks for itself now. You don't argue. You don't correct the rumors. You don't explain the glow they can't stand to look at. You let the silence speak. And oh, does it speak loudly. They feel it in their bones. The absence of your energy. The absence of your reactions. The absence of the old you. The one who used to justify, to fix, to prove. That version is gone. What's left is a force. A soul that's untouchable because it's not interested in being understood anymore. It's focused on being preserved. And they hate that. They hate that they can't reach you, that they can't bait you, that they can't pull you back into the drama they need to feel alive. Because now you're playing a different game, one they never qualified for. They scream into the void, hoping to stir a reaction. But you've become the void. And that kind of silence? It's deafening to people who used to feed on your noise. You've learned the highest form of self-respect. Not responding, not defending your peace, not arguing about your transformation, not giving energy to people who only showed up to drain it. The darkness is mad, it's rebellious, it's throwing everything it has left at you, doubt, shame, distractions, all of it designed to make you slip. But you won't, because your silence isn't absence, it's elevation. You're above it now. And that's what truly ends the war, not a final blow, but a final detachment. You don't swing, you don't shout. You just stop showing up to battles you've already won. That's what scares them. That's what triggers them. That's what tells them the truth, even louder than your words ever could. You're the boss now, the chosen one. And you've built a life where peace is protected like treasure, where access has a price, and where your silence echoes like thunder in the ears of those who thought they broke you. So let them wonder. Let them write stories. Let them project their guilt in the form of gossip. Your silence will say it all. Because when you are truly chosen, you don't need to shout. You exist, and the world adjusts. You arrive, and the room tilts. You leave, and the absence breaks them. No need to respond. No need to return. No need to relive the chapters you've already outgrown. The silence has already spoken, and it said everything they feared. You're never coming back. And so, here we are. If you felt every word, it's because this message was meant for you. You've walked through fire, stood in silence, and risen in power. You're not just a survivor, you're proof. The universe chose you, and now they know they can't touch what's been reborn. Your silence, your glow, your boundaries, that's dominance. If this spoke to your spirit, like this video, subscribe for more and drop the number 77 in the comments so other chosen ones can find their way home. Share this with someone who's rising, because your journey just lit the way for theirs.